My name is Jacob Petrus, and I'd like to talk about an issue that we just can't seem to get away from in the news. From the firing of Google employee James Damore to the atrocities at Charlottesville, the debate between what is hate speech and what is free speech is on everybody's radar. In plenty of stories over the past few years, we've seen that our politically correct culture is trying to push for censorship. Lauren Southern being banned from Facebook for just posting something about how censorship is happening to conservatives all around the world, to Canada's vague incitement of hatred in their new political bill. It's absolutely ridiculous. And even microaggressions at Occidental College in California. And these include things such as punishing a student for saying "bless you" to someone who's not religious, because that may be a microaggression. So I think we need a refresher on what free speech actually means, because when it's taken away from us, we are removed of so many freedoms. And this is something that our culture needs a refresher on. So I hope to do that in this video. So what is free speech? Well, it's your ability and right to say whatever you want as long as it's not going to harm somebody, or threaten to harm somebody, I should say. So it's your ability to give your 2 cents on the upcoming election, or to say that, hey, I don't like what you're saying there, or that's wrong. You know, it's that ability and that right for that matter. And as a right given to us by the UN in the Declaration of Human Rights, it's something that is intrinsic to all of us. So any law that tries to take away our rights should be opposed, and rightfully so. We deserve these rights, and just look at what happens when human rights are taken from people. Take one look at North Korea, for example. Freedom of speech actually gives us freedom of thought, and without having freedom of thought, we are going to have knowledge be completely stifled. Education would become increasingly dull. Imagine if you were only given one account on a historical event and not given the, conflicting sides. Everything would become increasingly stifled. Freedom of speech gives us the ability to speak out against certain ideals, and if this is taken away from us, injustice will run rampant. Look at totalitarian regimes such as the Nazis, such as in North Korea. Freedom of speech is taken away from the citizens because it allows us to defend our other human rights. It allows us to say that's wrong, or that's going to be harmful to a majority of people, right? It's extremely important. So all in all, free speech is something that we are all entitled to. It's something that we should all be able to have. I should be able to let you say something completely racist because that's what it's all about. We should be able to express our ideas without having someone shut them down just because they're the wrong beliefs. I mean, how stupid is that? This brings me to the topic of hate speech. Now, this is where things get kind of fuzzy. So what is hate speech? Well, quite simply, hate speech is speech that incites hatred. Unlike threats, which is where people get confused a lot. Hate speech is just saying something that will hurt someone verbally, but it's not a threat to physically harm someone or their family. So since hate speech are just ideas that sort of hurt the feelings of another, by that logic of free speech, they should be given the exact same right to say hateful things. Why is this? Well, what is hateful is completely subjective, right? I might think some sort of immigration policy is right, but you may call me Islamophobic. You see, there's a fuzzy in-between spot. So as long as it's not threatening to harm another, it should be allowed to be said, whatever you want to say. Now, I hate to defend some of the most atrocious people ever and some of the most deplorable groups in our society, but the KKK, white nationalists, all these racist groups, they should be allowed to say what they want, and I'm not agreeing with what they say. However, they have just as much right to say what they want as I do. If we consider ideas such as Nazism and white supremacy, it would be easy to sort of look at it and think, why shouldn't we shut these down? They don't actually provide much of a benefit to society. Well, the reason is because what is hateful is completely subjective, as I said before. I might think something is a good idea and you might think it's a horrible idea and hateful, but it doesn't mean it should be shut down. What should happen is that we should tackle the ideas, take both opposing ones, and see, using logic and reasoning, which one makes more sense, which one is going to be the best for society, instead of just shutting the one that we don't like down. So now that I've covered what is wrong with shutting down free speech and why we need it, I want to show how censorship is really happening. This prospect actually really scares me because I'm somebody who has the wrong beliefs a lot of the time, because I think conservatively. Another example that I mentioned earlier was Occidental College in California. Now, what they have done is put up a list of microaggressions, and this is a term that might confuse some of you. So a microaggression is something that isn't so serious, but it's a form of speech that could hurt somebody, and the college basically wants to punish people for this. So check out this video.
I'm asking an Asian American, where were you born?
Yes.
Very, very contextual, you know?
That's not a microaggression, that's just asking where they were born.
Saying God bless you after somebody sneezes.
Oh, that would be a microaggression because of different religions.
Yeah, it could be a microaggression to someone who doesn't believe in God.
I think that the harm there is relatively minimal.
So as we can see from what these kids are saying, they want to punish ideas that are as simple as saying God bless you to someone who isn't religious. How ridiculous is that? We're going to start treading on eggshells everywhere we go because we might be scared of hurting somebody's feelings. Now, I'm not saying to go say racist things all the time or go say really hurtful things to people. But when an idea might actually benefit society, what is the use in shutting it down because it may harm a few people? I think we need to start listening to differing opinions. It's the only way we can grow. In the end, I think we need to start realizing what free speech actually means and why it's important. And I've done my best to show that in this video. You don't have to agree with what someone says to defend their right to say it. And as Voltaire famously said, I may disapprove of what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Take a step back and understand that you're always going to be faced with things in life that you don't like to hear. You don't need to shut them down. You should listen to them. You don't have to agree with them, but please do not censor free speech.